Welcome to a new series. A series that'll take you into another world. A world of mystery and fear. So, let's begin. Back then, I used to live far away from the city. And every evening, I used to cycle to the stadium. On my way, I passed a mysteriously empty ground. A ground that no one ever used. One day, I figured out if I would use the ground instead of the road, I could save myself 5 minutes. So I started using the ground. But one day, I used the ground late at night, somewhere around 8 to 9 pm. At night, the ground was very dimly lit. Most of the lamps were flickering or not even working, and thus they casted mysterious shadows on the wall. I kept cycling until I paused and looked at the wall. I could see a human like shadow approaching me. I looked back instantly, but I could see nothing. But the shadow was still approaching me. I decided to start moving faster, only to realize the shadow was also moving faster now. It kept getting closer and closer until I reached the gate. After exiting the ground, I looked back to check if there was anyone. Yet, to my astonishment, I could see nothing. Even the shadow had disappeared. I thought it was just an illusion of my mind, and I went back home. Until a few weeks later, I got to know about the history of the ground. The ground was actually built on a graveyard that was destroyed 70 years ago. After knowing about the history of the ground, I analyzed the night before and decided to never use the ground again. Until one night I was returning from a late night party. When I left the party, the time by my watch was 1:30 am. I wanted to reach my home as soon as possible, and on the way came the same ground. Even though I knew the story, I had no proof of it. Hence, I decided to use the ground to save myself 5 minutes. I entered the ground and cycled slowly, enjoying the cool winter breeze. The moon was shining bright, and the lights were still dimly lit. Suddenly, I heard some footsteps behind me. I looked back, nothing. Then I looked towards the wall. What I saw sent shivers down my spine. It was the same mysterious shadow I had seen few months ago. I knew I had to get out of there. I cycled faster and faster. The footsteps grew louder. Suddenly, a tree on my right shook vigorously, and the noise startled me and I fell off my bicycle. Was it an animal or something else? I do not know. But I knew I had to get out of there. I left my cycle behind and started running on foot. Suddenly, I felt a sudden dip in the temperature. The footsteps were faint and the shadow had stopped on the wall. I paused for a moment, then I started moving. As soon as I started moving, the shadow caught pace. At this moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. I sprinted as fast as I can towards the gate. I closed my eyes and kept sprinting. I didn't want to look back. I didn't want to face the horrors behind me. When I was almost 100 meters away from the gate, the shadow on the wall had stopped. Yet I did not stop running until I reached the gate. And when I finally did, I did look back. In the faint darkness, I could see the figure of a man. But I was too scared to investigate any further. So I left. I ran all the way back to my house. But when I did reach my house, I noticed something very weird. When I had left the party, the time was 1:30 am, and the time by the clock at my house was 2 pm, but the time by my watch was 1:45 am, which seemed reasonable because I knew I had taken only 15 minutes, but the clock showed I had taken at least half an hour. At that time I ignored this and thought maybe my watch would have stopped working. But today I wonder, maybe I was right. Maybe the time at the ground did stop. It could have been possible. A time dilation effect could have taken place. Even though it may sound impossible, the things that had happened that night were much weirder than this. After that incident, I completely stopped using the ground, and a few months later, I moved away from there. To this day, I still wonder, the person behind me, was he real? Or some creature unknown of the dark world, a world we do not know about? And if there was actually a person, why couldn't I see him? Though all that doesn't matter to me, I'm just glad that I made it out of there, leaving the ground and its mysteries behind. And I'm glad that I'll never have to see the ground or that mysterious figure ever again. If you want more stories like this, do click the like and subscribe button. If you fail to do so, a spirit will haunt you. Goodbye and stay safe from creatures unknown this Halloween.